Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Slegaitis-Smith and this is a channel where we like to talk about writing, learning, and creating. Today we are diving into that writing side, but first, I just want to take a moment to be accountable to you all. I have been a little bit sporadic on my video posting as of late. The reason why is it is September of 2020 and I am a teacher and it is back to school time and it's been a ride, like a real interesting roller coaster type ride, like the horror type ride where you're like riding along in a cart and randomly things will just pop out of nowhere to surprise you, that kind of ride. But I have made a commitment to YouTube by starting a YouTube channel, which means that what is expected of me is to post videos regularly. So I did defer a little bit to the job that actually pays me versus YouTube, which pays me nothing. So because of that, I have not been posting at my regular times that I had established. I haven't been really posting much at all, and I've fallen a bit behind. So I am being accountable to you by sharing this information. I will try to start being a lot more regular with things. There's just a very large adjustment period at the beginning of the school year this year. But that leads us perfectly into today's topic, which is writing accountability. Now, you may be curious what writing accountability is. I mean, you're writing and you're accountable for what? To what? What? Not sure. Well, writing accountability has multiple different ways that it can show up. The first one being that you are accountable to yourself. Now, you are the hardest person for you to keep promises to because most people, not all people, but most people find it a lot easier to break their word to themselves than to break their word to other people. Because if you give your word to someone else that you're going to do something, they're expecting you to do that. If you made a promise to yourself, you're okay with disappointing yourself a little bit for the sake of something else. But it is really important that you start keeping your word to yourself. Don't make yourself promises that you wouldn't make to somebody else. The reason why is because the more you break your promises to yourself, the less likely you are going to be to fulfill them later on, because you are establishing a pattern for yourself of breaking those promises to yourself. So when it comes to writing, what does that mean? Well, we all have writing goals. We have word counts we want to achieve. We have novels we want to complete. We have other projects that we really want to get done and to do. And when we do not keep ourselves accountable to ourselves, those projects sometimes take years and years and years because we are not working on them in any dedicated sort of fashion. So, first level of accountability is to yourself. If you make a promise to yourself, like, I'm going to write 300 words today, you got to get those 300 words in because you need to hold yourself accountable to yourself. Now, if you're continuing to struggle with holding yourself accountable to yourself, the next thing that you can do is get an accountability partner. What is that? An accountability partner is a lot like a critique partner, except for instead of critiquing your writing, they're critiquing your work ethic. Sounds kind of scary, I know. But what an accountability partner does is, because it's easier for us to keep promises to other people, if we make that declaration to the accountability partner that I'm going to complete 300 words today, it becomes that accountability partner's job to, at the end of the day, be like, did you write those 300 words? That way, you can make sure that you're actually getting your work done and you have somebody else that's holding you to the promise that you made to yourself, because now you're kind of promising them that you'll have it done too. Now, how do you get an accountability partner? Well, your best option is to use a best friend, because your best friend is already probably holding you accountable for a bunch of other stuff. They're invested in your life as well. They want you to do well. They want you to be successful. They're interested in your passions because they are your passions. So asking them for help, it's going to be an easier yes from a best friend than from somebody else. You obviously can't be asking strangers to be your accountability partner because you're never going to see them again. I suppose you could hire someone somewhere. I mean, I'm sure someone wouldn't mind getting paid to text you every once in a while. Did you do what you said you were going to do? But usually your best option is your best friend. If you have a partner, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a spouse, whatever, they also can be great accountability partners because they are equally invested in your life and you finding success in the things that you are passionate about. So outside of people, a great option is actually to use a habit tracking or habit creating app. There's a lot of them out there now. The main ones that I'm thinking of are like ones that are based off of like video games to help like motivate you to do your everyday stuff. So there's things like Level Up Your Life. I've used Habitica in the past, and there's a whole bunch of other ones out there. But basically, it asks you, what are your goals to complete in a day? You provide the list to it, and then if you complete those things, you get to press the plus button, and you get to earn points and gear and stuff like that for like an avatar that you have in the app. And if you don't, then you press the minus button and you lose health points and other stuff. And so that can be a great way for you to give yourself the motivation to be accountable to this app versus just yourself, because now you have something that is giving you reminders and is giving you like a little bit of a reward for actually completing things, which is always nice. We like rewards, right, guys? So other than just accountability to finish your project, you also have accountability to your audience. That is a little bit of a no-brainer. Like, pretty much you should be aware that if you're trying to publish something, you are going to have an audience. I mean, we're hoping for that. We're planning for that. We're working for that. And if you have an audience, that means people are reading your stuff. That means that people are going to be looking into the things that you are saying and doing before getting that project in order to kind of assess you and your work. So if you're giving like advice on things like writing craft and you are not applying those things to your writing, people are going to think that you're a hypocrite. That's not to say that you can't make mistakes, because you can. You can absolutely be preaching this is something that's important and then not apply it very well and have it be a mistake. But it should be something that you're working on and continuing to improve on. Also, maybe just steer clear of things that you know you're more shaky with so that you don't have to worry about potentially looking like a hypocrite by having it show up as a bad thing in your writing. For instance, you will never see me doing a like copy editing type video on this channel where like you're going into like analyzing all of the punctuation and specific grammatical structures related to that and whatnot, because there is too many areas in that category where I struggle that I don't feel confident trying to give you advice on that. Like, there are things that I do as an English teacher where like I'm doing grammar and I'm teaching grammar, and so I can give that to you, but there are still like some faux pas of English that I fall into way too often, such as there's this whole English rule. You should not have prepositions at the end of a sentence. However, that is actually a relatively new rule and only came around when Latin was like really popular for a period of time. And so they were trying to make English seem more like Latin, and Latin can't have those prepositions at the end of the sentences. So English speakers were trying to stop that. But if you listen to how we talk, and if you look at how we normally write, prepositions hang out at the end of a sentence an awful lot. So I am guilty for that one. I know the rule. I know how to apply it, but I still don't all the time, especially when I'm trying to do dialogue with natural speech, because people talk like that all the time. So make sure that if you are going to be talking about something, giving advice about something, that you are applying that as best as you possibly can. You have grace towards mistakes that you make, but if you are just wildly doing things, it's not gonna go over well with the people who are holding you accountable. The other part of accountability to your audience is your deadlines. Now, there is going to be a point at some point when you tell your audience, hey, my book is going to be coming out soon. But soon is not good enough, so you're probably going to give them a date so that they actually know when to go and buy it. Which means that you actually need to hold yourself to those deadlines, because people are going to be hopefully rooting for you, cheering for you, standing on the sidelines and waiting for this great thing to happen. And if it doesn't, then you're disappointing them. So if you are doing like, I'm going to start a pre-sale thing, giveaway, whatever, you need to actually stick to that. If you're saying this is when the book is coming out, you need to stick to that. Now, that doesn't mean that plans can't change, but it does mean that you have to be honest and open about it. So your baseline is, if you give a deadline of some sort out to your audience, make sure you stick to it. The last part of accountability is being willing to humble yourself and say sorry if you break your promise. If you do not keep your promise to yourself, you need to kind of set yourself up to be successful for the next time. If you have an accountability partner and they are holding you accountable for your writing, you need to be able to be like, sorry, I didn't make it. I'm going to do better. This is what I'm going to do. These are the steps I'm going to take, and move on from there. The last part of accountability is owning up to it. So if you are being very successful with your accountability, don't hide that. Talk about accountability. Talk about how, like, it's important to you to make sure that you're holding yourself accountable to other people, because it will make people feel like they are valued, that you actually care about them, their time, their resources, their energy that they're putting into supporting you. And also, if you are not accountable, if you break that accountability in some way, own up to the fact that you did that. Apologize. Make sure that you let people know the steps you're taking to do better next time. So, for instance, with me, with the fact that I did not post a few videos and I didn't warn people ahead of time that it was happening, the way that I'm going to be moving forward for that is that I'm going to be decreasing the amount of days that I am putting out videos. Not because I don't want to put out videos, but so that I have a little bit more leeway with the content that I've created, so that I can adjust to how complex my schedule is becoming over the beginning of the school year, and try to make sure that I'm still actually providing quality content to my channel. And I am going to be trying to make sure that that works. If you end up not doing the thing that you were accountable to do, then you need to own up to apologizing for not completing that, and then make people aware of the steps you were taking move forward to make sure that it doesn't happen again as much as is possible. So, for instance, with the fact that I had this issue with not being able to post videos because life has gotten crazy with the start of the school year, my plan for moving forward is I'm going to drop the number of days that I'm posting videos to 1 until I know that I have enough content bolstered to get me through the craziness that schedules are right now, because my schedule is literally changing on a daily basis right now. Things are too crazy. No one has good answers. And so because of that, things are so in flux that it's really hard for me to make sure that I have time to properly edit videos, videotape the content, and things like that. So until I know that I can do quality work, I need to drop it down to 1 day a week, just to make sure that I am getting out the quality content while not going too crazy. So that is my plan for moving forward. And I am being open with you about it. And I am sorry, publicly apologizing to anyone about the fact that I ended up missing a few days. Now, does that mean that there is no forgiveness for you if you mess up? That's not true. People are going to be forgiving of you, especially people who are invested in you. They want to see you successful, and if you are open and honest with them about why you're having issues in certain areas, then they're going to be behind you. So just to wrap up things, accountability is kind of a scary thing, because it means that you actually have to hold to the commitments that you've made. And that includes when times get a little bit hairy, like how things are currently in my life. It means that you still need to try to keep your word as best as you can, including to yourself, to make sure that you're actually making progress on your goals. But just because it's scary doesn't mean that it's not important, doesn't mean that it isn't a good thing for you. It is a good thing for you, even though it's scary, and it will help you in the long run. In fact, in particular for the whole project completion thing, you are way more likely to get your project done a lot sooner if you have some sort of accountability to yourself and to others than if you don't. So I highly recommend getting an accountability partner for your writing. I have my own accountability partner. I have that app that I was telling you about and things like that in order to help make sure that I'm completing my projects as well as keeping up with all of the other things in my life. So I encourage you, don't get scared of accountability. Be happy with accountability. Use it to fuel you getting your project done. That's all I really have for you today. So have a great one. Until the next one.